Yeah, at the back. Cynthia, yeah. All right, people in front. Sorry if I yell. It's like, oh, if I project. Okay, so yes, Lisa, Shah. I'm the mother of 5. My babies are 20, 22, 23, 29, and 30 in the next couple of months. And I left them all at home. Actually, I met up with one in LA on the weekend, but I left them all at home otherwise. And I said to them it's time for me to go and do a couple of things, and that included going to places where I have a lot of Facebook friends and LinkedIn and different online communities. And just an advocate here for social media because it has incredible potential to do amazing things. Whatever you decide to use that tool for, it can do that. And I'm proof of it. Just the fact that I'm here. I wouldn't be here if I didn't have those connections with those people. So, and it's been a pleasure meeting them all. This lady is amazing. I don't want to say too much because it'll make me cry. But anyway, okay, on with creative thinking technology. Why, I was asked once why creativity became my thing. From a young age, I noticed that my thinking was actually a little bit different to a lot of the people around me. And I found that it had a lot to do with the fact that I had different practices, different ways of looking at things, and that shaped how I perceived life. And it shaped my optimism, it shaped my faith, it shaped my ability to make choices that other people think that they wouldn't be able to make. And it wasn't because I had any better circumstances. Okay, so I think of creativity as bringing us into a place of freedom, of hope, as in a confident assurance and a joyful expectation of good things, and of passion. And the reason it does that is because it aligns us with who we really are. And when we get aligned with who we really are, then we become authentic. And why that matters to business is that when you operate a business passionately, from an authentic center, 1, you are going to be happy. 2, you're going to do better at it than you would at anything else that you tried to do. And 3, chances are you'll actually excel in it because you're so good at what you do and because you do it with such a joyful heart. So your goodwill will skyrocket. All right, so they're the benefits to you personally and to your business. What it will do is it'll integrate business with your personal life so that there's an alignment between the things. You don't have to have an either-or situation. You don't have to have business taking you in one direction and costing you your relationships, you know, which is often what happens with people that get very successful. So they're the kind of things that creative thinking can alleviate. Now, what I want to share with you today are 3 specific techniques that are in your day all the time, but you may not have recognized that they are what they are, and you may not have understood how you can actually create them for yourself and insert them into your life at any point for their benefit. Most of my study has come from my own arts practice. Like Michael said, I'm a visual artist, writer, musician, singer, you know, and the only reason that's important is because it shaped the way that I looked at things. Okay, and I saw from those things that I looked at life a little differently. But what I also found is that a lot of the practices that I teach people are organic. They're inherent in everyone. And the only reason that changed was because when you went to school, they told you that you had to learn differently. Before you went to school, everything you learned, before you went to school, who stood up in front of you and said, repeat this after me? Okay, who did? No one. He said you have to say it this way. All you did was look, learn, pattern, understand, comprehend, assimilate, and do. And it was all a very organic practice. And before you went to school, you thought very artistically, you thought very creatively, you thought very expansively. And it wasn't until someone told you that you only had right or wrong answers that you stopped doing it, if you stopped doing that. I actually never really stopped doing that, so that's why I'm a bit wacky. But and that's why people tell me I need to keep my feet on the ground. Anyway, I like to be responsible for creating my reality, and the stance that I have is that I'm the creator of my reality. And as someone who is a creative thinker, I believe that's the bottom line. That's what you're aiming for. You want to be able to create your life, design it on purpose, and know how to do that. That's what I do. That's what I like to do, and that's what I like to share with people. All right. So today I'm going to give you 3 techniques. There's 1,001 ways, more than that actually, countless ways that you can create these and put them into your life. But there's 3 different principles that will help you think creatively. And some of them will scare you, okay? Because what happens is that to think creatively, you actually have to be shaken out of your comfort zones. If you're going to stay in the same grain of thinking all the time, then you're not going to think any differently. You don't have any new information or new perspectives or new angles. Actually, it's not the information that you need. It's the different position you need to stand in to see it, or the different filter that you need to put on to look at it. All right? The information doesn't actually change. This is what's interesting. You always have all the answers you need to everything that you're looking for. And when you know that, that's actually part of being creative. That ability to believe that is actually part of that. Okay. The first step is the principle of disruption. And with disruption, what you do is, we all have patterns, and we need them, because if we didn't have patterns, the person that you know from yesterday, you would have forgotten, and you wouldn't be able to remember them today, and you would have to go through all your introductions all over again. All right? Nothing that you learnt would stick. So you need to understand the necessity of patterns. That's what the responsibility of this side of the head is. I'm not going to get technical that way. I'm just explaining that this side does patterns. This side likes to throw them out the window. All right? Because what happens is, when you have a pattern, you judge and evaluate your information, and you put it in certain places. All right, just say I had a tube here of for white buttons. All right, and I had another one over here for black buttons. Tell me, what do I do with the ones that are white with black spots? It's going to get put into one of these categories, right? This is what the left brain does. It categorizes information and puts it away. But once it's in that white or that black button container, we forget the other information that's there. So when a disruption comes, it throws all that information back up into the air and says, oh, look, it isn't just white. There's black dots in this one. The black dots are what I needed. They're the answer to my problem. You know, they're the solution to my situation. So disruption does that. So when something traumatic or dramatic, especially if it comes into your circumstances, it comes into your circumstances because we really need some change and we really need some answers. And so it comes and throws everything up in the air so that you can stand there going, oh, I forgot about that. Look, I can see that. This is information. These are, you can create these kind of practices for yourself so that when those situations come up, that is the way you look at it. All right, so if you wanted to practice the principle of disruption, for example, you could have, think of a relationship that you have with someone. You may not have one like this. Let me know if you do. I want hands. Think of a relationship that you have with someone that always takes you down an emotional track you don't want to go. All right, there's a point where you can decide to not go the same way, and you usually have to do it a bit before you see it coming. All right, so like, just say that person always makes you angry about what you eat. Okay, I'll give you an example. My dad likes to tell me that I need to lose weight all the time, all right? So I know that he's going to do that. So instead of thinking about reacting to it in any kind of emotional way, I always have another avenue to take when he does that. All right? Because I don't want to go there. I don't need to think about that. That's okay. So I envisage a different answer for myself. Instead of going the same way and biting into that, I choose a different path. I could choose to say nothing. I could choose to do something really dramatic. Has anyone seen Shallow Hal, the movie? I know you guys know all about Tony Robbins, so you know he has this little vision, he has this little place in Shallow Hal where the guy steps into the elevator and he freaks him out, and he, you know, because he's got this attitude about women, and he does this really scary thing for a second, and the guy just goes, ah! You know, it's a disruption. That's the principle of disruption. So anytime you want to see a different behaviour to what you're doing, or a different outcome to what you're doing, just choose to go a different way to the way that you normally go. Or if you want to, like me for example, okay, major disruption. I sold whatever I owned. I wanted a shift in my life, basically. That's the reason I took this trip. And so I got rid of everything. I quit any work I had and ran away. But I ran away into a situation that would put me in a place where I had to deal with what it is I want to change in. Huge disruption. I'm actually the queen of disruption. I'm really good at that one. I've got a record for that. Okay, before I move on to the next one, does anyone have a question about the idea of disruption? No? Does anyone have a scenario of disruption or a pattern that they would like to consider shifting, just quickly? No? Yes?
So I tend to hit that snooze bar, and even though I like to get up at 5:30 every morning, and I have a 5:30 to 6:30 alarm, I never get up until the 6:30 goes off, even though I set one at 5:30. Okay, so instead of using an alarm, why don't you offer yourself something different at 5:30? No. This is you can use the next principle to come up with what to offer yourself that makes it worth getting up at 5:30. But usually it'll be a different way of looking at it. There's got to be another motivation. Obviously, the half an hour of sleep means more than getting up. So to find another motivation would be what you're looking for. And then when you find that, getting up is going to be a breeze. I'll tell you a little story. Somebody told me once that there's no such thing as a lazy person, there's just someone who is not motivated, all right? So, and they said, just picture this, you're out lying on, what we call a banana chair or a sun chair out in the sun. It's just really good. You know you have to mow the lawn. That's not me. But you know you have to mow the lawn. You're just lying there, your body feels like lead. I don't want to get up. Oh, man, I don't want to mow the lawn. Next thing, you just sort of open your eyes a little bit and you see this snakehead come up the side of this chair. Do you think that your body feels like lead anymore? You are out of that chair, man, and you are out quick. And you go, oh, as soon as I'm up, I'll mow the lawn, right? so the idea is it's always about motivation. The good thing is to turn something around until you find something in it that lights your fire. When you find what lights your fire, you won't have a problem with motivation. Not for a second. Because that's why passion is so important. That's why you need it in everything. That's what will see you through to the end of everything. It'll give you commitment. It'll give you the ability to conclude things properly. It'll give you the capacity to convey with significance. Okay? So, does that help? Yeah. All right. Now, the second principle, how am I going for time? I'll have to be quick. Okay, the second principle is a juxtaposition or unlikely partnerships. If you want to add a new way of looking at something from previous paths, this is what you could do. So with your morning thing, you can take what you normally think about when you get up. You can grab any random object. All right, hang on. Who's got a random object for me? That fork will do. Oh, look at that. That's what he picked up. All right, so you've got a fork. I just wanted to quickly demonstrate this. Tell me about the fork. What does the fork have? What kind of attributes, what kind of elements is it made up of first? Physical matter. What is it first?
Metal.
Metal. Okay, what else? Silver. So we're looking at color. What else?
4 points.
It's got 4 points? Okay. Oh. Okay.
It's got a flower on the end.
This could be important to remember. Okay, now we'll jump quickly to what do we use it for? For poking, stabbing.
To rake our garden.
Poking a potato before you put it in the oven.
That too. Yeah, and to check cakes to see if they're cooked. Okay. Well, that's what we did before we had other things, and when we still cooked cakes. Alright, so basically what we do is we break down the elements of something. This is juxtaposition. This is one way of doing it. It's not the only way, but it is one way. We break down the elements of a random object. Doesn't matter what it is. Pick up anything. This is why it's beautiful. It works with anything. I want you to break down the elements, list them. First its physical attributes and then its uses or intended uses. Then I want you to think about how you could use this really creatively. To make patterns in a Zen garden, for example. So there's 3 different lists of what this fork is made up of. Then I want you to look at that, look at the thing that you're trying to get a different perspective on, and try and draw links, because that's what your little brain is going to try and do straight away. It's going to go, how does drawing rings in the sand connect with what it is I want to look at differently? All right, that's the power of juxtaposition, and I don't have a board or an example to give you other than the fact that, okay, for example, when I wanted to look at reviewing my attitude to finances, I had bulimia when I was younger, eating disorders, things like that, and so my view of food was like, damn, could I just be addicted to something I don't need? It would be so much easier. I can't. I've got to actually manage this dumb thing, So I decided to take my revised understanding of food and where it fits into my life and use that as a blueprint for reshaping my thinking about money, because I had a real resentment to needing this stuff. I hated it. I didn't want it, didn't want to need it, and at the same time knew that it was inevitable that it had to happen. So I took both fields of discipline and crossed them over. Do you understand what I'm saying? And what I did from that is I actually came up with a plan for how to focus on what to generate an income from, based on the diet that I had given myself. So these are the kind of innovations. Innovation comes from cross-thinking like that. Innovation comes from juxtaposition. It comes from crossing over two disparate fields, or what appear to be disparate, bringing them together in a way that creates links for your mind, and you'll be surprised what you come up with. In fact, I'd love to hear if you use the principle and what comes up with it, because you'll be surprised. It's not, you know, when you choose random stuff, it works. Don't try and think it before then, all right? Third principle is, what have I got? Disruption, juxtaposition, releasing judgment. This is really crucial, because nothing happens if you're going to evaluate everything as good, bad, right and wrong, black, white. You've got to drop that in order to be creative, initially anyway. You can come back and put your ethics and your values and your priorities over the implementing of ideas, but while you're thinking ideas, don't think logical, don't think judgmental. So, for example, I'll give you, Edward de Bono has an exercise called PMI, plus, minus, interesting. And he'll throw out a phrase, and people's reactions to it are so funny when he does that, because they're usually designed to sort of, you know, knock you a little bit, throw you. So one of the phrases that I've heard him use is that marriage should be a 5-year contract. What's your first thought? How's that going to work, right? But if you look at that idea, all right, to look at this idea with any kind of intention to bring value from it, you have to forget everything you've been told about marriage. That is releasing judgment. When you want to consider an idea or an outlook on anything, you've got to be that open that you can let go of everything and do it consciously, not evaluate it. So, okay, what would be great about about marriage being a 5-year contract? Renewing your vows. What else?
You can reevaluate, well, basically what that person said.
Yep.
If it's working or not.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, that if somebody knows at the end of 5 years you have an option for outing, guess what? There's a chance that they actually might want to keep you. Okay, so that's what, and the idea of this exercise is that you list the possible pluses that could come from this kind of thinking, and then you can look at the possible minuses. What's going to happen with kids? How's it going to affect alimony? You know, like you could look at those kind of things. But the best fun is the interesting part, because when you look at the interesting part, you might look at things like, well, what's this going to do to the fabric of society with regarding to how families are built? And then you start seeing all kinds of interesting things. But you don't see any of this stuff as long as you hold on to the idea of, no, it has to be this way. This is the only way. It doesn't work any other way. All right, so one of the primary things, and it's probably the first place to start with creative thinking, is to lose all judgment in the process. Give yourself, I call it controlled chaos. I wrote an article once called The Art of Controlled Chaos for a business magazine in Australia. And give yourself a parameter to work within so that you feel safe. It's all right, I'm not going to lose my grounding, I'm not going to go crazy. I'm just going to explore these ideas within this confine. And then once you've played around in there a little bit, then go adventure with some of the things that you pull out from that, okay? Now, I'm going to finish up. That's all I'm going to tell you about creative thinking, unless someone has a question or would like anything else. Did you get anything from it? Yes? Yes?
I just wanted some clarification on the juxtaposition. I like where you're going with having a random object and its various attributes and usages, and then juxtaposing to what? Challenge an issue? You know?
Yes. Well, in your case, it's why you don't want to get up at 5:30, but you'll push yourself to do it at 6. Right. Why not? Look at why, and then that list that you have there, how you can shift it over to the 5:30 and make an adjustment somehow. You'll be surprised what you find. I'd love to hear. Yes?
Well, connecting to Dawn in a situation, what I found was when you get up at 5:30 or whatever, after do your storyboard, first put your feet flat on the floor and you say, I love my life. And you create the intent. It's going to be an amazing day.
Yeah.
And you storyboard the rest of your day how you want to see it, and that can be your motivation.
Okay, did everybody hear what he said? He's talking about, like, if you get up first thing and the first thing you do is actually set your mind on what you intend for the day, and you can do that using storyboarding. Personally, I actually get up and journal for an hour or two. That's my first thing, and that's it. Oh, actually, I'll walk out to the kitchen with my eyes closed and get coffee first, and then I journal for an hour or two. And that's what I same process for me. That's what that does it.
But I want to say, what really changed my life, I mean, like really changed it, focus on it with intent, is when I put my feet, the first thing I do, and it takes used to doing it. As soon as you put your feet flat on the floor and you're ready to get up, you actually say, I love my life, because you are thanking Supreme Being, Buddha, whoever it is, for the opportunity as a gift.
Yep.
Each day is a gift. And then it only changes and brightens your mindset in the day. And that's where the magic happens, when you have the intent and you create your
And the gratitude. This is actually called the Agape Love and Gratitude Tour. That's what I'm doing. Can I call my friend Larrie up, please? I'm going to sing you a song. Thank you for sharing that too. I'm going to sing you a song just quickly. It's called Time to Fly. I wrote it, and it really is pretty much what I've just done. We're just going to play it for you. I only met Larrie last week, I think, last Wednesday. We have music in common, it works.
I'm going to play an ancient art song.
Oh, okay.
It's called Tuning.
He said, did you hear that? He's going to play an ancient art song called Tuning. Well, he called it tuning. We call it tuning. Because tuning is about cartoons, not about music. So Time to Fly is a song about recognizing that the only way I'm going to actually make a step forward is to actually take a flying leap. And sometimes that's what it takes. Not always. Sometimes you can do these sweet incremental things, but sometimes it takes a flying leap. It's not always easy, and not all's felt good, but it's all I've known up till now. And I know it's time for me to grow on. And though this day has dawned, I'm not sure how to spread my wings and fly. Learn how to soar upon the wings of life. I don't know if I'm ready to dive. I don't know if I'm ready for this time to fly. Uncertain and unsure, but I don't feel like I belong. a tear or two may fall. We both know that tomorrow will bring forth the sun to light our way with its warmth and comfort too. The brightest of the day will shine through, yeah. And it doesn't mean I love you less, and I know you love me too. It's time to go, it's time to grow, and it's time to learn how to spread my wings and fly. Learn how to soar upon the wings of the Spirit and the sky. Time to learn to swoop and dive, ride the waves and catch the tides. Time to get ready for this time to fly. Time to get ready for this time to fly. Time to get ready for this time to fly. Thank you very much for having me. Special thanks to my lovely friend Kathryn Strong and Michael and Larry. Thank you.
Thank you. This is the first time we've ever had musical entertainment at Successful Thinkers, at least in our chapter. Thank you so much. They told me you sang beautifully, and they were correct, like an angel. So thank you for being here.
Thanks a lot.